quarter century ago, I would have been the most unlikely candidate to talk on the subject I'm given today. The reason is that it's not that I had not found my politics, but politics had not yet found me. I'll elaborate a little later. Like all artists, European artists of the 30s, who thought politics was not eclectic enough to indulge in. It was infra-dig for them. They kept away from it at their peril. I was very similar to that because my film education and my extramural education, I didn't go to any college, so it all happened outside of the college campus. And that's the reason why I always befriended writers who actually, in the name of friendship, have taught me so many things, both about literature and politics. I allowed myself to absorb but not be immersed totally or brainwashed. So I could keep my equipoise. I always thought, in my estimation, that politics was, I'm talking about my teens or my 20s, early 20s. I thought politics was, in my estimation, an agreement between a group of people and the general populace to keep the government running. Other than that, my views on politics were an imitation of what I've heard. I thought it's a playground for power-mongering charlatans. That's it. And you need them. They'll do the civil work for me while I go about my art and life. Like Mark Twain, I almost believed that a scoundrel's last resort is politics. Ambrose Bierce, another American writer, embellished it, made a correction on Mark Twain's statement and said, "You're wrong, Mr. Mark Twain. It is not the last resort, but the first resort of scoundrels." So I was sort of impressed by these clever words. And that was my opinion in my teens. So like most upper middle class communities, I took keen interest in politics through newspapers. You read the newspaper, you read the editorial, and if something is amiss, there is corruption, they'll expose it. And then there'll be an inquiry commission, and it'll be taken care of. If there is any local, topical misdemeanor that I'll have to report, I can always write a letter to my editor. And my job is done. So that's called armchair politics. I was an armchair politician in my teens and in my early 20s. This kind of calm, an agreement between the governing group and myself, it's an uneasy calm. It prevailed only for a very short while. I realized their omnipotence when it started affecting my art. I thought they can't touch it. They did. And then through it, my philosophy, my beliefs, and my life itself. As a cinema technician, I grew up as a cinema buff. And I grew up in the times what we generally call the time of flower children. So there was choice. The McCarthy time was over, and suddenly America was awake and asking questions. So we can also imitate that. We refused to go to war. We burned the draft. We can do that. And we thought it's nice. We have a buffet of ideologies to choose from. Philosophies, religion. It's your choice. You can choose. Or choose not to choose and be without gods. And mythology is something that you can expand, explain in your contemporary language and terms. This is what I thought. Till the world started leaning towards one hemisphere. The world politics started leaning towards one hemisphere. I didn't realize it then. It was happening slowly. Some of my friends abroad and here consoled me and allayed my fears by saying, this is a temporary political stance that the world is taking, and soon they'll come back to reason. And I was waiting for that to happen. And they also assured the age of the dictator is finished. It won't happen again. That's what I did. I applauded. I applauded and thought it cannot happen. Not in this digital era. But then I realized democracy is not infallible. It is only through democracy a dictator like Hitler rose to power. It's not infallible, and democracy and your rights, civil rights, cannot be kept in a vault to be later collected at your convenience. Constant vigil is required. Democracy is something you keep alive by giving your breath to it. Breathe on it so that it will be kept alive. If I had been here in my early 20s or teens, by now I'd be yawning. A speech like this is very boring for me. But now it makes a lot of sense. Whether you yawn, applaud, or walk away, I'll still make this speech. The reason being, it is a voice that should be heard. At least in passing, you must listen to this noise. Let people ridicule it and call it paranoia. But still, listen to me. My father was a congressman and a worshipper of Gandhi, unlike me. And discovering Gandhi happened naturally. He did not teach me. Like all teenagers of my time, icon bashing was a great sport. Anything up there, we have to bring it down. Anything that is holy, we'll have to question. And you're not answerable to some of those questions that come from that direction. So cocky was I that if somebody asked me my name, I'll say, why should I tell you? They'll say, I want to know. My son, I want to know. Probably I don't have a name. I don't have a name in my dreams. I'm just me. Treat me as I am. Conversation over. I don't want to talk to you. You're boring. That's the kind of teenager I was. Nothing wrong with that. It sort of led me into a lot of debates and sometimes quarrels and sometimes a bloody nose. It happened. But later on, as I realized life and the difference between fact and statistics. Statistics is something that's told to me. Fact is something that I realize. The moment I realized that, all my selected heroes fell. The only one that stood upright was Mr. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And the first thing I did was to remove that halo behind his head and throw it away. I made him my friend. I made him my research material. And that made me make Hey Ram. Hey Ram is probably my strongest first political step. And with that, my journey started becoming more and more precarious. I put the notes down because I remember it by heart by now, because it happened to me. It was all sweat and tears. My voice for plurality, my voice for a secular India was looked upon with raised eyebrows. Some tried to stifle it. I met with a very nasty accident in a film shooting, and I was in a hospital, and that was around the same time when I was recovering. I saw Babri Masjid being destroyed. I myself felt like I've been destroyed because of the accident. My empathy towards a building and a faith and my criticism towards religion and politics became stronger. You can see shades of that in Hey Ram. I belong to a very religious Vaishnavite family. I used to recite shloks when I was 3. My father used to show me off as a show monkey. He just has to touch me and say Manisha Panchakam, which is not a Vaishnavite idea, but I will say it so to please his Iyer friends. And then when the Iyengars came, he will say Suprabhadam, Sahasranamam. I said all that. I was a very religious kid till my environment taught me. Tamil Nadu. I am thankful for that. And the man through whom I got those things actually trained in Kerala. He is called Vaikam Veerar Periyar. I lost my gods, but I found myself. Another thing, by the time I was 40, I decided not to decry somebody else's religion, because it is the most popular way of psychotherapy to a nation which is slowly going mad. But instead of that, it's now being used to make it worse. It could be a great psychiatrist's couch, whichever religion. You can lean back on it and sort of console yourself. Somebody asked me in Harvard, what about tolerance? You lost your God. How will you be able to tolerate? I said, tolerance is overrated. I don't think what India needs is tolerance, but acceptance. What do you tolerate? A headache. You don't tolerate a friend, you accept him. So, I don't tolerate anything, I try to understand and accept it. And that's what happened during Hey Ram. And that was my first step towards politics. And then after Hey Ram, my life became different. My film art life became different. I found it difficult to find producers, financiers who will work with me because I'm dangerous. And I started producing on my own. Again, politics interfered. And it's not ideological politics, but very avaricious politics which wanted to make money out of my film. They wanted to buy my film, and it was a business disagreement, but they went at me with all their political might. That's what I meant when I said in my previous speech that you must affect politics before its ill effects are felt upon yourself. Even then, I thought going to the polls and doing my duty would suffice. It won't. Inventions should be used for a better life of man, our telephone, our telephony, digital telecommunication. All that should be used for better purpose. Electronic voting machines are here or being tampered with. So what happens to my democracy? That's a question all of us will have to ask. Another thing, all of you are potential voters. Through you, I'm talking to Tamil Nadu because I know most of you will go to the booth and vote. But not all of Tamil Nadu youth are like that. This is a message, and you are the messengers who will carry it to your peers in Tamil Nadu. My politics is going towards that direction. The first time, my failure was bought out by my opposition. I'm aware that's the kind of playground I'm in. It's Circus Maximus. Anyone can do this to me halfway through a fight. And their soldiers will come and slash me down. I know that. Yet I am here. And that is why I'm here to give you an invitation. Come into politics, all of you. Not to give bhashans like this on stage, but to show the corrupt politicians your might, what you can do with that franchise that you have in your hand. Universal suffrage took so many years to come into being. That is, universal suffrage is when anyone can, man, woman, slave, black, white, anyone can. It came to India in 1954. It came to America in 1967. So we are a very strong democracy. Trusting that, I have come into politics. I have come into politics not because I think I'm talented. I came into politics and found my politics trusting in your might, your power. It's up to you to let me down. I want my most popular film, there are many, one of them is Spartacus. So there is one question in Spartacus where a broker, an arranger who could make Spartacus escape, asks him, you know that both armies, Pompey's army and Marcus Licinius Crassus's 20 legions are coming at you and you're caught in the middle. Why are you fighting, knowing fully well you cannot win? For which Spartacus answers, I will win. the reason why I'll win is when a Roman dies, he loses the luxury of life. When a slave like me dies, he loses pain. And that is why I'll win. And even when I die, millions will come after me, similar to me. I've raised that voice, and it will continue. It will echo across eons. And that's the voice you're hearing now. The echo of Spartacus. All of you should say, I am Spartacus. I have found my politics. Please find yours. Then we'll find United India. Thank you.